welcome to Madz Creates. I'm Madeline, and in this video I am going to be showing you how I create and design my tapestry crochet. Now, I originally learned how to do, I taught myself, but I did see a video from Michelle Jessic. She is a Canadian YouTuber. She has a video on how she does her tapestry crochet, and I personally use Procreate on my iPad, but I know some people cannot afford that, so I'm also going to be showing you how to do it on graph paper you can just get from Walmart for like $3 or $4. With that, you will need a pen and a pencil, and probably some colored pencils or crayons, something that's colorful that you can color in your design so you know what you're going to be using. I don't have any of that right now, so I'm going to be just using two colors for the design I create on graph paper, and I'm going to be doing like a simple like wavy checkered pattern for that. For my other one, for Procreate, it's going to be a lot easier to show you how to get more colors in there. If I read the original comment, they said, for beginners like me, can you show some tips on how to get your idea to creation? How did you know how many chains you need? How much yarn will be needed? How to attach transitions? Do you do it in blocks? How to decide what knots to use? What hook size? What program you're using? If you don't have access to a program, can you do it on paper? That's a lot of questions. It's a lot to break down. Somebody also commented under that, said a good website for tapestry crochet is Stitchfiddle. You can add any picture you want and it will turn it into a grid, and each square is a single crochet. So I've never used Stitchfiddle, but I'm sure it's great. If I have time, I guess I can try that out, but I will be showing you on Procreate and on paper, and if time permits, then I will try Stitchfiddle. So to start off your tapestry design, you want to have a design or an idea in mind. So find an inspiration photo on Google or whatever search engine you use. It can be a character, it can be like just solid like waves, it could be like literally anything. It could be a tree, it could be a flower, like flowers, leaves, plants, the sun, something like that, the moon, whatever it is. Find your inspiration photo, find what design you want to create, and then pull up that picture. If you're doing it on Procreate, you're gonna screenshot that photo and you're gonna add it in there. But on paper, you're gonna want to draw out your grid, like what size you want. Now on this paper, this is the front. See, this is pretty this is more expensive graph paper because this is what I bought when I was in high school, and that was over 2.5 years ago. So I still have this left over, and it's the good kind, but the front of this sheet has bigger squares than the back of this sheet. I'm going to be using the back of the sheet for the smaller squares so that I can add more of my design. I can make it bigger essentially. I'm going to switch angles really quick, but you're going to want to draw out a grid, count how many squares you want by how many rows, and make sure you do a swatch test. Now my swatch, if I use a 4.5mm crochet hook because I have a looser tension, so I always size down, and the smaller your hook, the tighter your stitches will be. So when I make a little gauge swatch, I did 10 stitches by 11 rows, and that made a perfect square for me. Do a little gauge swatch, and it can be 5 stitches, it could be 10, it could be 15, but whatever makes a perfect square is how you will know how many rows you want for your project. That can help you figure out what size your finished project will be. For me, 10 stitches by 11 rows creates a, like, I'm gonna say 2.5 inches, just about. So now that means that every 10 stitches is about 2.5 inches for me. Make sure you do a gauge swatch. I mean, do a small one. You don't want to make a big one, especially if you're slower at crocheting. But I want my project to be fairly small so I can get it done in a day at least. So I'm gonna do probably maybe like 40 stitches by 50. That's like 40 stitches by 50 rows. It's about the size of a sheet of paper, like letter paper. My design is fairly simple, so that should be pretty easy. Actually, I'm gonna have to count how many squares I have on my paper first before I decide what size. Now, if you want to make bigger pieces than what you can draw out on a graph paper, you will have to find a website that you can make a chart with, like Stitchfiddle is what somebody recommended. I'm going to switch my angle and I'm going to start showing you how to draw out and map out your tapestry on a grid. Alright, so I measured or counted how many stitches that I have on the bottom right here. I could do 40, but it's a little cut off, and then it goes up by 52, or actually there's about 53 rows, so I will be doing a 40 by 50. And now you probably will want a ruler. I don't know what happened to my 12-inch ruler, so I'm using my 18-inch, and you're gonna want to draw the edges of your project. And you know what, I'm just going to pretend that this extra row is a full square, and normally you would have your numbers start on this side and you would have numbers on this side to count which row you're on. I'm going to be marking off as I go each row so I don't have to count up each row. Typically you would start at this end and work your way like that. So number 1 would be over here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because that's the way that you work in rows. You have to switch and turn your rows, turn your work. So I'm just going to mark, make a line with my pen. Alright, and now that you have your black outline, you can start to go in with your pencil and you can draw your design. I'm just going to do like a wavy checkered, so I'm going to pick a point to start and just make lines. If you're doing a character design, you would obviously look at your photo, but you can also just freehand your design on here. Okay, now that you have your basic design drawn out, it doesn't matter if there are cross sections in between the, if you can see here, this right there, it doesn't line up perfectly. That'll be okay, because when you go in with your colored pencils, I'm just going to be using my pencil to shade in the spots that I want, because I'm going to be doing two-tone. Probably going to use this scrap yarn that I have from another project and this yarn, 2 contrasting colors. I'm going to color in the spots that I want to be darker with my pencil, and that will be the darker color. So I'm going to pick a square that I want to start with to be dark, and we're just gonna color those in. And if it has less than half of a square, I'm not gonna count that, but if it has more than half of a square, I will count that. That's more than half a square, more than half a square, like that. And now we want the corners to be kind of touching, so just do what looks right to you. Alright, now I have my grid drawn out, and it's okay if some of the lines don't line up correctly. Like, these would be 2 white squares as that corner, and then right over here, that's a dark color, and then a dark color on top of that, but it should be okay. This one, this is a dark color, and then a dark color right on top of it. The way that crochet sits on top of each other, like the stitches, they are not perfectly in line like this. They are like that, if that makes sense. See, as all of this drawn out, you can't really tell. There's a lot of mistakes, or there's overlapping color parts, like this corner right here, that corner up there, this weird thing right there, this right here. I don't know if I pointed out this one right here yet. The way that it works out, it's still gonna look good even though it looks a little weird on paper. Did I point out this one yet? I'm sure I did. To start off, I'm going to use my lighter color, and I'm just going to chain the amount that I want. I'm not going to be showing you how to do the basic stitches because you should already know how to do some basic stitches. For this, all you're going to need to do or need to know is how to single crochet, chain, possibly slip stitch, start with your slip knot. You also need to know that. You start almost every single project with a slip knot, and you will not be using a turning chain. So chain the length of your project. Alright, so I have the length of my project chained out. This is 40 stitches. You're going to want to double and even triple check your starting chain just to make sure that you have the correct amount of stitches. And I will be starting in these back bumps. So this is the front of your chain. If you flip it over to the back, there are these little bumps. I will be going into those, and now this is the first back bump. Do not chain one, it'll just help keep your rows straight, but if you want to chain one, you can go ahead and do that. There's really no rules to this, just guidelines. So you will start in your first back bump with your first color. Now in my design, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these, the plain color, and then it switches to the darker color. I will show you how to change color after I get all of my stitches. Okay, so I have my first 7 stitches, but I did not complete that 7th stitch because that is how we are going to switch colors. I'm going to pull my yarn to the front like this, just fold it over in the front, and then I'm going to grab my second color. Looks very dark on camera, but it's not that dark. You're going to just loop it over your hook like that, make sure you're holding it in place, and pull that through to finish that stitch. Now with this first row, since this is the same color as the chain, you can crochet over that, and I will also be crocheting over my tail right here. So then you want to count the next amount of stitches you have to do, and then single crochet over those tails and the amount of stitches you need. So I need 2, 4, 6, 9. Alright, I have my 9 stitches in my darker color, and I need to switch over to my lighter color. So what I'm going to do, since this is the front of my work, pull my yarn to the front, pull it over, drop that little tail back there, finish my single crochet with my other color that I'm switching to, and then I will work the next amount of stitches, which I believe is 11, in my other color. And typically I don't like to float my yarn over 10 stitches, but since it's only 11, I will make an exception. Floating your yarn is when this yarn will be across the back of it, just hanging pretty loosely like that over my stitches. I'll show you more in a second. Alright, I have my 11 stitches in white, and I'm going to pull my color to the front, and this is floating. You're going to drape the yarn behind it, but you want to make sure it's not too tight and not too loose, and then you want to finish your color change like that, and then you will work with this color. And once again, since this row is the white, I will crochet over the white, and that is called I think it's carrying the yarn. You're just carrying it over. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches to do in this red color, cinnamon, and I will meet you back when I get to the end. Alright, I have finished my first row. I'm going to mark off the first row that I completed, so I know that that is finished and done. You can also mark off each individual color at a time as you work, but I'm a little more experienced. And now when you go to turn your work, you're going to be here at your tail, and if you have the same color as what you're going to start in the next row, what you can do is pull up a loop and go through these front legs right here of that last single crochet and pull your tail through. Then you're going to pick that loop back up and just crochet over this tail. Now we should be looking at the back of our work. This is row 2. See, when you're not going to, oh goodness, I'm so far out of frame. You're not going to chain 1, so you won't do that, and you should be able to see this is the last stitch that you made. The loop on your hook does not count as a stitch, so you'll be going into that loop to complete or to start your single crochet row. And with this white color, I only need to make 4 stitches. Pull my tail down once again, to color change on the back side of your work, you're going to pull this yarn technically to the front towards you, and then with your other color, you're going to pull that through. You're going to work in front of this color change. Don't skip that stitch. It is kind of easy to forget a stitch there if your work is tight, and then you're going to just crochet with that color up until you have to switch colors again, and just keep color changing like that and reading your chart and following it like that. Yeah, and this is basically how you do tapestry crochet. Now if you want both sides to look very nice, that is called intarsia, which I will not be doing. That is too hard. I am a little lazy. I will be floating and carrying my yarn where it is necessary, and since I'm only using 2 colors and my color changes are not very wide, like this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, so the farthest my yarn will have to float is 11 stitches. I'm not too worried about multiple balls of yarn. I'm just going to be pulling from each of these 2 balls I have right here, untwisting them as I go because color changing will cause them to twist. Make sure you are untwisting them as you go, or it'll be a huge mess and you'll get probably overwhelmed, and we don't want that. Yeah, I'm just going to keep working like this. That's basically how you make and crochet off of this. Alright, I have made it to a spot in my project where I need to start a new color at the end of a row. This is the end of my row. I need to start a new color right here. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to finish this, and I'm going to work a color change like I would normally do and finish that row like that, and then I would flip my work. And I'm going to color or crochet over this tail right here. So I'm gonna loop under everything right there and just crochet over it. So I guess I do a mix of both intarsia and tapestry crochet. Intarsia and tapestry are just the labels for the type of crochet that you are doing, the type of tapestry. Just keep working your color changes like normal after that. And if you have a similar color and you have a floated yarn, you can just crochet over that to hide it more, to make it look neater in the back if you feel like it. This is just what I do. Sorry the lighting is terrible. It is like after 8:30. I finished the little tapestry, super small. And before anybody says it looks like cow print, I am aware. Thank you very much. It has been pointed out to me twice now. But you can tell that is wavy checker pattern mostly. Now I'm going to get into showing you how to create it in Procreate. So what you can do, there are 2 ways that you can do it in Procreate. You can figure out what size you want and create a small pixel sheet of paper, like do like 60 pixels by 90 pixels if that was what you wanted to do. You could do an even larger one and just color in the squares in the grid. It's a lot easier to size your pixels down and have your chart, your grid be 1 pixel size, so you can just tap the center of the pixel and it'll be that whole color. I didn't learn that until after I'd already made 2 of my charts, my huge large tapestry charts. I will show you how to do that once I get off FaceTime with my boyfriend. So you're going to want to open up your thingy, and then this button right here lets you choose the amount or the size that you want for your project. Let's do 90 pixels by 80 pixels, and then we are going to go to this thingy right here. We're going to put drawing guide on, edit the drawing guide, grid size down to 1 pixel. So then click done, and on a separate layer we are going to add a photo. This is the photo I want to add. Oh my goodness. So scratch everything that I just told you. Delete that. Create a thingy. We can just do screen size. And then insert your photo. Actually, I need to change the background color to I need it a bit warmer. I'm trying to match it as close as I can to the color background that I want. Okay, that's the background I want, or that I have. Take our photo. Am I on the right layer? No, I'm not. Okay, so click on this layer. You can click that to move it. I don't know why it's doing that. Just readjust until you get it how you want it. We want to go to that. canvas, drawing guide, edit the drawing guide, grid size, we'll do 15 pixels. That is gonna be huge. Okay, let me count across how wide this is. Okay, so this grid is way too big. I'm gonna go back to that because that is 106. We're gonna change it back to 20 pixels. That's 21. I want 20. And now we're going to count. Okay, it is still pretty big. That is 80 across. I wanted to do 70, so we're gonna bump it up to grid size. We're gonna change to 23 pixels. Count that. Okay, now that leaves me with 2 less squares than I need, so we're gonna bump it down to 22 pixels, recount, and we'll see. Okay, see, my issue here is these pixels aren't gonna be small enough so that I can do his toes, and it's such a weird angle. Let me decrease the pixel size. I'm gonna go back to 20, and I'm going to adjust this to be a little bit smaller. Actually, no, I need this to be bigger. Yeah, if you don't know how to undo things, you tap with 2 fingers on here, if you didn't know that already. So I can work with that. Okay, yeah, not sure how I want to do that. We need to bring the opacity down on this so I can see my grid. That's gonna be tricky. Make this a little bit larger. There we go, on that side. The bottoms of the letters reach that part of the grid. Increase it a bit on this side. Okay, his toes are gonna look really funky and all of the diagonal pieces are gonna look funky, but it will look pretty good. I will figure out how to draw around these in a second. So what you'll want to do, get on a new layer. You have these. I don't know what's going on with this layer. We're going to delete that layer. Now, for this layer, I want to keep moving my iPad to make it closer, but I have to be in frame. Okay, so we're going to take this black color. We got our brush. What size? That's too big. Okay, so now what we're going to do, literally just trace everywhere. So from here, alright, I've got my quick outline of my character. I'm going to just fill that in. Those of you who don't know, this is Lucy from Disenchantment. He is probably my favorite character besides Bean. It's on Netflix if y'all want to watch it. Not sponsored, but my favorite adult cartoon. It's hilarious. It's got a lot of pretty famous voice actors in it. Now I'm gonna do the white parts next. So we're just gonna switch to white. Alright, I turned my light off so that it was easier to see. I am going to turn my brightness up. I do have it set to where it dims when it's dark. I am going to erase what I've done for the tail and redo it because I do know that these single crochet stacked on top of each other are not going to look very good. They're going to zigzag, I know from previous experience. I think that looks a little bit better, and that is how you crochet or you create a design. Just color in the lines, and it is okay to definitely add or take away things from your design or from the original picture. Yeah, and now I'm gonna crochet this. Alright, it is almost 11 p.m. Sorry, the lighting is terrible. I literally have just 2 lights right there. Anyway, I am trying Stitchfiddle out on my iPad, and it's super easy to use, honestly. You tell them what you're doing. It's going to ask you if you're knitting or crocheting. You're going to click crochet, and you're going to click chart, crochet something. It's going to say, like, it's going to give you the options of Tunisian crochet, tapestry, blah, 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 etc. And you're going to click that. And you're gonna click create. It's gonna ask you if you want to create a design from a picture, your own original design, and whatever. Yeah, so you click and you upload whatever picture design you want, and then it puts it in a graph. It also asks you like what type of yarn you're using, and it has the list of colors for it as well. Gauge and size calculator. So you click crochet, crochet color work, Grafkin, pixel crochet, picture crochet, Tunisian color work, and tapestry. We're gonna click no preference this time. From a picture, and then you can choose a picture. We're gonna go with this one. Again, the Lucy. See that? Not very good. Yeah, we're gonna go back to Bart Simpson, and it just makes a chart. Can I not zoom in on the chart? But there, it's all pixelated now. What happens when I click save chart? Okay. Alright, so it puts it into a little grid for you. That is cool. It's gonna be huge. Well, anyway, this is one really quick way to make it. I don't think I will be using that. Eventually, maybe in the future. Definitely not for me. It just looks iffy on the pixels. I like how it has the row and the stitch, and it tells you which direction you're supposed to be going. So this would be the front side of the work, and a row down would be the back side. Cool. This is definitely a great tool to use. Alright, I will not be making 3 tapestries for this video, just 2. If you don't have access to an iPad, or if you don't have an iPad and you can't afford Procreate, or if you just don't have it, this is definitely another great option to use. To answer the question, how do I know how much yarn I'm gonna need? How much yarn I will use? I don't know. I'll either overbuy, I'll measure and weigh out how much yarn I have, and weigh a previous project and try and do some math there, or play yarn chicken. I play a lot of yarn chicken. Right now, I don't think I'm gonna have enough of this yarn to make the tapestry, because this is gonna be the background, and this is a dye lot that does not match the other dye lots that I have that I need. We're gonna use the rest of this and see if that will be enough. Playing yarn chicken. Alright, I weighed it out. I couldn't get an accurate measure or an accurate weight on my little mini scale for the gram stuff, but my larger food kitchen scale that I have that is old and inaccurate by like 0.05 ounces. I have about 3.5 ounces left of my mushroom color yarn, and then that equals about 98 grams, but I did find some more scraps that probably are not the same dye lot, but they are close enough that if I need to use them, I can. Let's weigh those out real quick. Alright, that was another almost 12.5 grams. So in total I should have 110 grams of the mushroom color. And if I cut down on my project just a little bit, I can get it to where the whole project will be about 174 or 75 grams. So that only leaves 65 grams for the other colors, which means I should have enough. And I realized after finishing this little tapestry that I don't have to crochet the tapestries that I'm designing, but I will, just for content, because it's fun, and I really do want the Lucy tapestry. This one, I'm probably either going to give it away or maybe sell it, use it as like a placemat or something. That one was for shiggles, but this other one I'm definitely going to be hanging up. Hello everybody, hello beautiful people. It is the next day, super late, like 10:30, almost 11 at night. I only got about 23 rows done yesterday, and then it was like 3 a.m. So I was like, okay, it's bedtime. And today I've gotten probably 80% of the project complete. I'm sure I'll finish it tonight or tomorrow, but I don't have enough of this yarn left. So I'm gonna have to bust into my other stash with a different dye lot and hope that they're close enough nobody else can tell. I did have to use the scraps that I found, and those match pretty well to this skein, so I hope the other skein matches as well. Anyway, this is how far I got on the tapestry today. I just have a few more rows left to do. Don't mind that, I had cheesecake. I'm super happy with how it's turning out so far. I did make a couple mistakes and stuff, and I changed some of the stitches. I had a feeling, my intuition told me to get on the Joann's website and look at all their yarn. They're doing a 60% off big twist and shit. Like, they're doing up to 70 or 80% off clearance. So their big twist party that is normally $7 is $2.80. Y'all, what is today, the 24th? Yeah, Monday, June 24th, so I might order some yarn. I finished it. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to steam block it, but look at that. That's Lucy. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. Yeah. I'm probably not gonna weave in the ends until I go to hang it up and block it, but I'm super happy with how this turned out. Alright, that's gonna conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, comment if you feel like it, and subscribe for new videos every Monday.